The story of the student and the tiger. While walking in the forest, he accidentally fell into a trap. The animal struggled aggressively, headbutting and using its teeth to gnaw on the trap to try to get out, but the trap was made of very strong male bamboo trees, so there was nothing that could be done. While in danger, suddenly a student passed by. Seeing him, the tiger said in a sweet voice, "Hello, Teacher 2. How did Teacher 2 come to this dangerous place?" "Alas! Don't you know that my friends are currently waiting in every direction to prey on you? Well, let's make this pact. As for you, please open the lid for me. As for me, I will always protect you and not let any tiger touch you. On the other hand, I will make the people around here respect you and worship you like a god." The student replied, "But if I open it for you, you will eat me." Hearing that, the tiger once and twice swore and said, "Oh my! Teacher 2, do you not know that I am someone who has never told a lie before? I said I wouldn't eat the teacher's meat, so how could I break my word because of one bite? I'm the king of the jungle, so why waste my reputation? Please open it, I will not forget your kindness all my life." The gullible student was moved by the forest lord's entreaties, and believed in his strong oaths, so he gladly reached out to do good. Once the trap lever was pulled up, the tiger quickly jumped out, yawned and roared, making the student startled and scared. "Oh!" The student said, "Your shouting is so loud it makes my ears hurt." But if the tiger appeared cowardly and submissive just now it shows an even more blatantly aggressive face. He changed his voice. "Does my voice bother you? I still want to eat you. You just made an oath to accompany me and haven't let go yet. Why have you turned away so quickly?" Before the student could finish speaking, the tiger roared, "I thank you for your kindness. But you have to understand that my hungry stomach doesn't need to know right from wrong. I've been starving for several days and now I need the strength to return to the cave. So give me your life." While the unlucky animal was trying to break his promise, a mountain god learned the story. Taking pity on the person who had been deceived, the mountain god appeared in front of both sides in the appearance of a judge with a fierce face, sparkling eyes, and white hair and beard. God scolded loudly, "What are you guys doing arguing so loudly here? Who is right and who is wrong? Please tell me clearly and I will judge for you." The student quickly recounted the recent story. But the tiger pointed at the trap and argued, "There is no such thing. I was sleeping peacefully there when this guy came and disturbed me. Not only did it not let me rest, but it also tried to harm me. Therefore, I had to eat it to take revenge." God said, "Yes. You have the right to take revenge on anyone who dares to violate your residence. But I don't believe that is your place. Because your body is so big, how can you lie in such a narrow place? Now the two sides will return to their original positions, we will consider and arbitrate later." The tiger believed that he had won, so he happily entered the trap. Immediately the god lowered the trap and scolded the tiger, "You bastard! You broke your promise and returned the debt of gratitude to the person who saved you. Now you don't have to expect anyone to save you anymore." And turning back to the student, the god said, "And that is a very valuable lesson for you. We need to be good and merciful to everyone, but first of all we must remember that we should never be good and merciful to cruel people." 1. Horrific. Another story of mine. Don't return grudges with grudges is also a variation of the above story. A leopard took two monkeys to go play. Seeing a glimpse of a wolf, the monkey threw down the stretcher and climbed a tree to hide. The leopard also ran away on all fours, but was chased by the wolf. Along the way, he met an old man who begged him to save his life. Having the cloth bag ready, the old man told the leopard to get in and lie still and tie the bag. The wolf came to ask, and the old man replied that he didn't see it. After Lang left, he opened the bag to let the leopard out, but the leopard turned around and wanted to eat meat. The old man said, "You ungrateful person, are you sure to repay kindness with resentment? Because you almost suffocated me, I had to eat you. The old man told me to go find a judge. If I deserved to die, I couldn't bear it." Reported consent. The two sides went to an old tree. The old man told everything to the tree and asked to judge. The tree said, "Human beings are evil and unjust. Our species helps them with many jobs such as making houses and utensils, but they always cut us down very miserably. They are an evil species. Eating meat is right." The old man told the newspaper, "If you don't cut it, how can you make tools? He can't hear you. Please find another referee." Reported consent. Meet an old buffalo. Buffalo said, "We work hard to help people all our lives until we die. Yet when it dies, it still peels off its skin and cuts off its flesh. How ungrateful it is. It is right to eat its meat." The old man said again, "He's very stupid. If he's already dead, then what's the point of skinning and cutting his flesh?" Report your consent. Meet a guy. After listening to the old man's story, the young man asked, "How can a leopard get into a small bag like this? Please do it again and I'll be able to judge." When the leopard got in, the young man tied the mouth of the bag, used a stick to beat the leopard to death and said, "The old man saved you, but you repay kindness with hatred. Death is worth it, too." Southern people have a story called The Legend of Bells, Drums and Gongs, which has the same theme and image. Except here the python replaces the leopard. A Confucian scholar went out to save a strange eel from the hands of buffalo herders. Seeing the eel begging for mercy, the scholar released it into the river. Shortly after, he failed the exam and returned to the village. Along the way, you must pass a ferry. People prevented him from leaving, saying that recently a giant python had appeared that often sank boats to eat people. "I guess it's the strange eel I released the other day." But he believed that it would respect him as the one who saved it, so he volunteered to cross the river alone. The boat was rowed out into the middle of the river, and the python emerged, demanding to be eaten. He recounted his gratitude for saving it, but the python would not forgive him. The Confucian scholar asked to find an arbitrator. The python also agreed. "The first time I met a buffalo, the buffalo said it was right to eat meat. The second time I met a crowing fish, it was the same. Finally, he met an old man who was actually the Buddha, the world-honored one, appearing. Buddha called all the animals that acted as referees together, scolded the python for his ingratitude, then turned the python into a bell, the buffalo into a drum, and the crowing fish into a snare." 3. This story is relatively popular in many ethnic groups. First of all, it's a Chinese story, the content of which is almost no different from the story, "Don't repay kindness with grudges," above. Laotian fairy tale. A tiger accidentally lay on a poisonous snake hole and was bitten to death by a snake. A monk passed by and took medicine to revive the tiger. But after being resurrected, the tiger wanted to eat the monk's flesh on the grounds that he had the right to kill anyone who violated his residence, even if he did good deeds. Cows, wolves, monkeys, crows, and tree spirits were asked by both sides to act as referees, either because they were afraid of the tiger, or because they were selfish, or because they were dissatisfied with people, thinking that the right thing belonged to the tiger. Only the rabbit, who was asked to be the referee, finally found a way to save the monk and cure the tiger's ungratefulness. The rabbit pretends not to deal with it if both the victim and the target do not return to their original position for me to check. Arriving there, the tiger lay back in the same position and was bitten by a snake and died a second time. The rabbit said, "Monk, don't you know that the tiger's nature is ungrateful and cruel? You should dedicate good actions to good people." 4. Cambodian fairy tale. A fisherman encountered a crocodile in a shallow pond. The crocodile asked him to carry him back to where there was water. That person said, "My car is cramped and your body is too big to carry." It's enough for the crocodile to tie it to the bottom of the car. Being transported to a lake full of water, when released, the crocodile told the person, "Come here so I can eat meat. Why are you so ungrateful and ungrateful? Because you tied me so tightly that I almost suffocated." The other person had no choice but to go back and say goodbye to his wife and children before coming to hand him over. On the way, I met a rabbit. Seeing him crying, the rabbit asked the reason, then told him to come back and find a way to save him. Arriving there, the rabbit acted as a referee and asked the crocodile, "Why do you want to eat it?" The crocodile replied the same as before. Rabbit asked, "How to tie it tightly?" "Let's do it again on both sides. Is it necessary to tie it like this?" The crocodile replied, "If I had to force it like that, I wouldn't have gotten angry." The rabbit signaled the other person to hold tight. Crocodile said, "Yes, it is tied like that." The rabbit told the other person, "What are you waiting for? Let's give ungrateful people a lesson." The other person then used a stick to beat the crocodile to death. 5. Similar to the story just mentioned, the Malays have the story Crocodile Tears Pua Nha. The crocodile strayed to a hot sandy beach and luckily met a young man, so he asked him to help him carry him. Returning to the river, will repay the favor. But when he carried him back, the crocodile shed tears of emotion and wanted to eat one of his legs, saying that it should have swallowed his whole body if it weren't for repaying his gratitude. They suddenly met a broker and asked him to be a referee. The stork pretended not to believe that the young man could carry a crocodile, and told him to carry it to the old place to try. When they arrived, the stork said to them, "Could they survive without the young man?" The crocodile looked humble and shed tears, begging for help, but the stork and the young man left the crocodile and went away. 6. In the book Pan Cha Tan Tra, 5 books for teaching children, there is also a story similar to the above story. A crocodile knew that a Brahmin was about to go on a pilgrimage on the Ganges River, so he asked him to carry him. Because the river it lives in is often dry. Out of pity, the Brahmin put the crocodile in his bag and took it away. When he arrived, the crocodile also wanted to eat meat and was defended by the referee, a cow and a mango tree. Finally, thanks to the weasel's trick, The crocodile crawled back into the bag so that the Brahmin could properly punish the crocodile's ungrateful behavior. Also in the above book, there is another story in which a snake replaces a crocodile. Bodhisattva was once a monk, cultivating in the Himalayas and gathering around him 500 disciples. One of them is stubborn. Seeing a snake, he picked it up and put it in a crevice of a bamboo tree, raised it and loved it like a child, named it Valuka. Vulu means bamboo in Pali, and called himself Vo. Lu Ka Pai Ta, father of small bamboo. Bodhisattva said, "Do not be proud of a snake." Answer: "But I love it like a child." Okay, but remember that he is ungrateful. Not long after, he went to the forest with other monks and stayed there for several days. The snake at home was very hungry. When he returned to give him food, it got angry and bit him to death. Like the story just told, the following series of stories all use snakes as animals representing innate ungratefulness. Story of Syria. The boy Jeddu gathered the children and was honored by them as king. They spread their clothes for the king to sit on, and tied a wreath of flowers on his head to make a crown, and sat on the left and right sides like the ministers sitting next to the king. Everyone who passed by them would pull back, come and bow before the king first. A man from Jerusalem was also forced to come and greet the king. When this man arrived, Jeddu saw a snake wrapped around his neck, choking him. Jeddu asked, "How long has the snake been wrapped around its neck?" Answer: "For 3 years now." "Where does it come from?" "I did him a favor. He returned it with resentment. Please, and how will he repay the revenge?" In the winter, when I saw it was about to die of cold, I put it in my lap and brought it home, placing it in a covered jar. In the warm summer, when I opened the jar, it jumped on my neck and wrapped itself around me, refusing to come down. Then you made a mistake. God created it to live in a bush with cold and warmth. Who told you not to let it live like God created it, then bring it back and lock it in a jar without feeding it? I accept it. The torture is worth it. Then Jesus said to the snake, "Go down and live on the earth." The snake left the man's neck. The other thanked and said, "You are truly the king of all kings and fairies. I acknowledge your kingdom." A French fable. A man digging in the winter found a cold, dead snake in the hole. Feeling sorry for him, he brought it close to the fire to warm it. When the snake regains consciousness, it wakes up and bites the person. That person pleaded. He replied, "I obey the law of nature and do not know anything about repaying favors." Allegorists from Pinpay, India, Aesope, Greece, Phèdre, Roman, to La Fontaine, La Fontaine, France, all have stories of humans and snakes. The following is Peter's parable. A farmer saw a snake dead from the cold, so he placed it in his arms to warm it. When the snake regained consciousness, it pounced on the person and bit him to death. Another snake asked why, and answered, "I teach people not to do favors to evil people." La Fontaine's fable is similar to our story above. A man sat on a camel going through a forest where there was a fire. In the middle of the fire there was a flower snake asking for help. "It is your enemy, but a good deed is precious. Whoever does good will enjoy happiness." Thinking so, he tied a bag to the tip of the spear and held it out for the snake to enter. After being saved, the person told the snake to go wherever it went and not to harm anyone. The snake replied, "I don't do it that way, but want to bite you and the camel to death." The two sides brought to the referee a cow, then a tree. Both judges ruled in favor of the snake. Coming to the third referee is the weasel. The weasel forced the snake back into its bag to authenticate it before being prosecuted. When the snake entered, the weasel told the man, "Now you are the master of your enemy." That person tied the bag and used a stone to kill the snake. There are two fables similar to La Fontaine's story. A Serbian story. Saint Sabbath saves a snake from fire by holding up a stick as a bridge. Having escaped, the snake wrapped itself around its neck and demanded death. Saint pleaded, "Finally, ask a weasel to come over and arbitrate." The weasel told the snake to sit on a nearby rock to be treated fairly. When the snake came to sit, the weasel told the saint to take a stick and beat him to death. An Italian story. A snake was tied to a tree by shepherds. A person passing by took pity on the snake, untied it and warmed it. Coming back to life, the snake jumped in and wrapped around the person's neck, suffocating him. "Why do you repay kindness with hatred?" "I follow my nature." If the argument is not over, ask the weasel to arbitrate. Weasel also said that we have to return to the original situation to be able to deal with it. Let the snake tie itself to the tree. When he finished, the weasel told him to beat the snake to death if he wanted. An ancient story in the Book of Stories is somewhat close to the Syrian story. During the time of King David, there was an old man who saw a frozen snake along the road. "You must love everything that is born." Thinking so, he brought it home to cherish in his heart. The snake came back to life and grabbed the old man's neck. The bull, then the donkey all awarded the victory to the snake. The old man came to ask King David. The king did not judge. Finally, he came to meet King Solomon, who was still a child at that time. With orders from his father, Solomon ended the lawsuit by giving the old man an opportunity to kill the ungrateful snake. 7. In the book 1001 Nights, there is also the story of the fisherman and the evil god. Imprisoned for centuries in a sealed mound by King Solomon and thrown into the water, a wicked god was accidentally picked up by a fisherman and accidentally released. The evil spirit attempted to kill the fisherman, saying that he had made a cruel oath. Whoever saves him will kill him, because after a long time of promising to reward those who saved him, he did not see it. So the evil spirit swore on the contrary that he would punish him. "Save me." The fisherman pretended not to believe it, saying how could such a huge monster get into the jar? Being provoked, the evil spirit made a black cloud enter. The fisherman immediately corked it and threw it into the river. Vietnam also has a story with the theme of repaying kindness with a grudge, but the image is different from the above stories. A fishing villager was fishing on the river, suddenly heard a cry for help, and rowed his boat to the place where someone was sinking. Put the pole down for the victim to cling to and climb up. He was freed, but the tip of the pole injured his eye. He then filed a lawsuit demanding compensation for his eye. Otherwise the people of the fishing village would have to live with him for the rest of his life. The mandarin asked the fishing villager to come and ask, "Why did you hurt his eye?" Before the fishing villager could answer, the other person said, "I was in the water. He stabbed me with a pole and injured my eye." The mandarin accused the fishing villager. "Because you injured his eye, then you must heal his eye." The mandarin asked the other person, "When you were submerged in the water, Were your eyes injured? It's still perfectly good, the mandarin told the soldiers. Then throw it into the water in the same place so that this fishing villager can find a way to heal his eye. When the other person heard the judge's decision, he withdrew the lawsuit. 8. 1. According to Say No, Chagno, Memories of Annam. 2. According to Samard, Cited Book and Trong Vin Ky, Cited Book. 3. According to Levan Fat, Fairy Tales and Legends in Annam. 4. According to Leckler, Laotian Fairy Tales and Cambodian Fairy Tales. 5. Told in BSEI, 1933. 6. According to Ba Bag Story. 7. The Jews tell the first part of this story as follows. A man carrying a bottle of milk met a snake groaning in the field and asked, "Why is it groaning?" "Because of thirst." "What do you carry in your hand?" "Milk." "Please give me something to eat. I will only give you a treasure trove of gold." He gave the snake milk to drink. The snake then brought a stone with gold. The person took it, and suddenly the snake jumped up and wrapped around his neck, saying, "I will kill you because you took mine." The other person replied, "Come with me to Solomon's court," etc. Some of the above stories follow Kazkan, Kasqueen. Indian and Western fairy tales. 8. According to Da Su, Proverbs about extracting prison. Thank you for joining us for today's fairy tale. We hope these stories bring joy and meaning to your day. If you love our channel, please hit the subscribe button so you won't miss any exciting tales. Wishing you a good night and sweet dreams. See you in the next story.